So this is the next segment that we have in regards to Jasmy, and this is good stuff. I'm not trying to wear you guys out with Jasmy, but you gotta give credit where credit is due, and especially we have got to point out mainstream news when they literally mention word for word Jasmy. You know, I love that. It's one thing to sit here with old Max and connect the dots and deep dives and so on. It's another thing that just makes us feel good to recognize, hey, guess what? How cool is this news? To see organizations recognize Jasmy by name. And you're going to see it more often, especially in the bull market. So Jasmy US, great thread about SBI announcing their Web3 fund of 100 billion yen. Yes, you read that right. 100 billion yen. I basically think that the conversion, give or take, because we did one about, I think it was like, $1 billion US comes out to like 664, or I'm sorry, 1 billion yen comes out to like 664 million. So I imagine 100 yen, I actually can just look it up. 100 billion yen, what is that real quick? $664,290,000. That's a lot of money still. I don't care who you are, it's still a lot of money. So Jasmy US has this about this great thread, like you mentioned, and it goes on to mention about the 100 billion yen, of course, but the main key thing is mentioning word for word by name Jasmy. It says their investments cover all the areas Jasmy wants to enter, for example, healthcare, AI, education, with ongoing government collaboration. This is why I wanted to put so much emphasis on yesterday's live show when we were talking about quant being, we talk about standards, put into motion. We talk about regulatory compliance. We talk about, for instance, the policymakers, shout out to, my media, right? Pointing some of this stuff out, and especially when it comes to Japan, a very hard country to get this done. They're not just going to hand you the keys and say, oh, yep, we're approving everybody. They don't do that. So Jasmy S is hopeful in regards to the positive news in the future, but I'm going to take you to this posting, okay? So this comes from Lair GG. It says basically intuitive, what's it say? Intuitive metrics, VC exchange, etc. The deepest research in market trend. When you get into this, it says today, SBI announced the creation of a new fund for Web3, like we mentioned, 100 billion yen, and in regards to also metaverse startups, right? Bullish points, government-led initiatives, stablecoin tokenization. Let me just double check the other screen because I want to make sure you guys can see it as you can. Stablecoin and tokenization, investments by tech giants, Binance Japan. Look at this, government-led initiatives, prioritizing Web3 development, dedicated Web3 unit, reform of crypto tax policies. Remember in the past, we talked about the tax incentives. I don't know if you guys remember some of this stuff. I even had a thumbnail on an old channel, and it had like a ninja, and he's slashing away on the T. Remember that whole thing with taxes? Again, guys, why do we point this out as content creators? You think we just do it because, oh, it's a cool thing. You want to, create content. You want to follow. Yeah, a little bit of that. But at the same time, we have to have something to back it up. Everything that was mentioned many months ago, don't you just love how it's all coming full circle? And especially with the media reporting on it, and especially government-led initiatives. So this allows startups to fundraise via digital assets, individual investor tax / again, this was the reference I did a while back. I had to remind myself. It was slashed from 55% to 20%. That was proposed, of course, but there's a corporate tax on unrealized gains, 30% abolished, and that was confirmed. See what you want. There was a lot of criticism with Biden when it came to the whole thing of capital gains tax. Can you imagine with, for instance, Japan? They're incentivizing SMEs, small to medium-sized enterprises. How do you do that? You slash taxes. It's a win-win. You want more business, especially come into Japan. They have a decreasing population, right? So they got to get with it. So JCBA submitted a revision on crypto leverage ratios. That was, of course, proposed, but we'll get into some of this stuff. Since the end of last year, Japan has been pursuing a crypto-friendly policy. Yeah, no kidding. Why do we think we put so much emphasis on Tara Kono and, DFFT, data free flow with trust? Because that literally is the regulatory framework to get the whole thing going. And it was, like I said, introduced into Europe. We have one that's very similar to that framework. It's just not called the same thing, but we will get that going. But the bottom line is everything that has been mentioned for the longest time. Stable coins, tokenization. Look at this. Remember when we talked about Progmat? Was it last month? MUFG, SBI, JPX. Look at this, guys. Japan Open Chain Regional Bank. We gave so many examples of regional banks, and especially what they're looking to do with Japanese yen denominated stablecoins. Look out for that. I'm telling you flat out. Progmat is partnering with Binance Japan, aiming for a stablecoin launch in April of 2024. There's going to come a point, like we mentioned also, that through the super wallet will be the enabler of not being dependent on centralized exchanges like Binance. Binance realizes that. Maybe that's also part of the manipulation. Say what you want. Look more into it yourself. You probably already have. We talked about Project Guardian last night, did we not? Especially when it comes to quant. So even with that, this is pounding home, right? That much more about the whole thing of why we got into that so much. And when you guys see the chopped up version, I'll probably try to put it in the top right to kind of give you something to fall back on the research. But Japan's FSA, because we know that Genki Oda is also part of that, has teamed with who? MAS for tokenization. This pounds home that much more for a PDL or Jasmy's utility to be paired up with what? All these things about the stable coins and so on. Japanese yen denominated stable coins. The government and major Japanese corporations are, of course, taking the lead in advancing Web3 projects in Japan. Now, to the juicy stuff here in a bit. Investments by tech giants. For one, SBI Holdings has $663 million in a Web3 fund. That's wow. MAFG, $45 million in Animoca Japan. NTT, which of course we'll talk more about NTT here within the next few days, weeks, and so on. You're going to hear a lot more about NTT data. I'm telling you flat out. SBI Holdings, $50 million. Sony, always talking about Sony, right? $3.5 million in Startail Labs. Sega, remember back in the day, those commercials? Sega, right? Sega CD. Shout out to anybody who had a Sega CD. I had a Saturn back in the day and also had the 32X. That was so funky putting that on top of my Genesis, but whatever. Sega and Square Enix, $3 million in YGG Japan, and even SoftBank, that we know is heavily connected to Jasmy, heavily, like Jasmy. Oh my gosh, I don't know the exact amount, but multi-millions. Look, it says $93 million in Sandbox. Now, in regards to the major Japanese companies with significant market cap that are actively investing in the Web3 sector, so many impressive ones here, right? Key Japanese themed projects, partnerships. Obviously, XRP. We talk about XRP all the time. SBI is the largest holder of just that, XRP. Interesting. XDC. We understand XDC Quant, right? Went over to Japan. Did the whole thing with SBI Japan. I'm sure you guys remember that particular video. If you're new, it's okay. But that was a big deal because SBI VC Trade. I'm not into OAS or NPT and some of these other ones. There's, of course, A-Star. We obviously know the whole thing with Sony. But even from the A-Star, if you hold A-Star, please understand that the utility of A-Star, even though they're with Sony, is a totally different utility compared to what Jasmy has to offer, right? It is apples and oranges. Some people pointed out, like, A-Star community, Sony, yeah, let's pound our chest to that. Well, guess what? It's still a different use case, I don't think people sometimes realize it, and it always exposes who hasn't done more of their own research. All right, finally, here you go. Here's the real juicy part. Yes, by name, Jasmy. Look what it says, Toyota. They put Toyota, right? I don't know if that's a typo or they do that on purpose anyway. But Toyota and Sony Vaio. So finally given proper recognition where it's due. And on the bottom, look what it also says. There is a realm of possibility that Binance Global may adopt a strategy to list several Japanese projects. Yeah, we already seen this a while ago. You know, a little bit more about Binance Japan before we get more into the Jasmy thing, because we do got to pay attention what Binance Japan is doing. So look what it says. Cross-listing with Binance Global supports original Japanese coins. Interesting, because guess what? Who is one of the original Japanese coins? It's Jasmy. This whole thing about what they did with Binance US, putting Jasmy in innovation zone, taking the price, then coming out with Binance Greenfield, right? I think it's called Greenfield. Again, so much research. Sometimes I got to refresh myself, right? So take the price, pretty much I would say intentionally. They're not going to come out and admit that. But even if they came out and admitted that, I mean, I guess maybe the SEC comes after them. Because as we know, it's completely there's no laws written stating that they can't do that. Because if there were, Jamie Dimon would be thrown in prison. And of course, we know that's never going to happen. But privacy and gambling tokens are not in the listing plans. But again, guys, boom, supports original Japanese coins. And we know when it comes to Jasmy, they are the original. So what is going to happen in regards to Jasmy when you see it listed on Binance Japan for trading? I mean, guys, just be honest about this. So many projects would love to get listed on Binance. Like prices pump. You've seen that. Maybe not so much in a bear market, but we are, in my opinion, at the start of an actual solid, bull market with enough momentum, and we have already the momentum. I mean, I'm in the profits on my Jasmy. I'm up like 12 or 1400. I mean, it fluctuates, right? But we're at the 0.005 level for Jasmy. I'm telling you flat out, this right here could create the first significant milestone for price shock for Jasmy. Now, is Binance going to do some other BS? And I don't know. I mean, you never know what's going to happen with Binance. But I do want to state this to instill confidence for you as being a Jasmy holder. This is great that they stuck to that roadmap. They stuck to the white paper, trying to go to this layer 2 solution, this AI blockchain layer 2 solution, because that super wallet is game changer. Back to all the things the Harvard reported on and so on, because it takes off the dependency of centralized exchanges. So if CZ tries to F us again, if you will, which could happen, then guess what? We could still be more than good, because it states, hey, we have solid utility with what we hold. Screw you guys over there at Binance Japan. You're just one exchange, right? If we talk about true decentralization, then we shouldn't have to be dependent on this. But yes, on the short term, absolutely, we could see price shock. So I like this guy's opinion. He says, in his opinion, the Japanese government and large companies are actively promoting the Web3 industry. True. Japan's crypto tax policy and the listing of Binance Japan will be bullish triggers. True. And it's a great write-up. But the key thing is the giants now recognizing the bigger picture by name, by literally mentioning Jasmy. How cool is that? And this is not just some, fly-by-night outfit, right? 36,000 followers, intuitive metrics, right? Deepest research in market trend projects. You like to see some of these things be mentioned by name. So I think on this next particular one, yeah, we have just a tad bit more. I would take a pause on this. And if anything, later on, I will chop it up to make like 3 different videos or something like that for people that don't watch the live show.